Welcome to
Crazy, right?
a podcast
Be your own person.
for those affected by
Crazy, right?
mental health.
I wanted to just try it.
Crazy,
It's something that I've struggled with for a while.
Featuring live improvised music
Now I finally got my head right again.
by your host,
am I right? Crazy,
It feels good to talk about it.
right? Crazy, right?
Dave Asher.
My guest today is Bryan Kuhn. He is a Chicago-based singer-songwriter who has struggled with depression and anxiety. He uses music to help others with their mental health issues and shares to end the stigma surrounding the subject. Bryan, thanks for joining me here today in my studio. I'm going to step over here to my piano. How did you first get into music?
I got into music in college, actually. I didn't start playing the guitar until I was about 22. And from there, basically, I taught myself how to play by learning songs that I liked. I probably started with some Tom Petty songs.
Nice.
I think I started trying to play what You Don't Know How It Feels.
Yeah.
And then I play a cover of Learning to Fly.
What do you think was it about Tom Petty's Learning to Fly that meant something to you then, and has the meaning of that song changed to you over the years?
Yeah, I think when because when I first heard that song, I was probably 10 years old.
Right.
And once I learned how to play it when I was in my 20s, and you get into the lyrics of it, what it means for me is you're always learning. You're always and you fall, and sometimes you fly. And it's kind of just that whole up and down of life. And I think with mental illness, that's a big part of it. And so for me, that song took on a lot of meaning as I got older and really kind of, I played it a lot.
Tell me a little bit about some of your ups and downs with mental illness.
I've battled a lot of different demons, basically to self-medicate my depression and insomnia and anxiety away. I used prescription drugs and it drove me down into darker places. I had some really very scary times in the past 5 years.
You talk about you were self-medicating.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used benzos, I used Ambien, things like that, and I didn't use them to go to sleep. I used them to get high. And things just rapidly got out of control. It was not pretty. It was a very bad picture. And in a lot of ways, I'm lucky to be here. And that's part of why I'm trying to do what I'm doing now with using music to convey that message of what it's like to live with mental illness and deal with it on a daily basis. And so when I was on benzos, it was because it takes away your anxiety. And basically takes away your inhibition, so you don't have you need some sort of anxiety, at least a little level, to tell you when you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, that are dangerous. And I lost that, and I did some dangerous things.
Were you at that time fueled by these self-medications, the benzos, the Ambien? Were you incorporating those into your artistic process to create music?
Yes, all the time. I've been recording albums on my own for about 10 years. I recorded all the instruments. I did all the writing. I did everything. All the mixing and mastering, everything was me. So it helped me, but it was also isolating because I would retreat to within myself but it was also my only way of getting those things out.
What was some of the content of the songs?
I always tried to write from a perspective of trying to overcome the issues I was having.
So you were aware of the issues.
I was aware I just didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't have the tools that I needed to live with it, and because I knew it. I knew there was a problem, but I had no control. I was not. It was almost like I wasn't making the decisions. They were being made by my mental illness. The three things that I deal with the most are depression, anxiety, and insomnia. I have a song called 42 Straight, and it's about being up for 42 straight hours. I wrote that song about 3 years ago, and it's the first single we released off for my new band. It's called 42 Straight. Yeah.
Do you have recollections of that period when you were up all that time?
I do. Yeah.
And were you also creating music during that time?
There was a period there, so I wasn't really creating at that point. There was a period of probably about 2.5 years where I didn't record anything. And the 8 years prior to that, I was recording constantly and writing constantly. But things got so bad that music wasn't even a part of my life at that point. Because I just was not physically capable.
You were so depressed?
Depressed, a lot of anxiety. And they just feed off of each other. The depression brings anxiety, the anxiety brings the insomnia, and but then I would also have times where I'd be in bed for 3 straight days with the depression. What
was the turning point from when you went to suffering through these things? At what point was there a turning point, a moment when you changed your mindset about potentially wanting to get help or wanting to be on the medications that were helping the situation?
I was in a stretch where I had been in bed for 3 days, nonstop. And I went to my counselor, and people had, told me before, like, you should try a program, like an outpatient program. And I was at rock bottom, and she threw out the idea, and I went to get treatment, and that's where my life changed.
What was it about the treatment?
The first thing was I had never connected with anybody else about mental illness because it's so isolating. And the first day I was there, they put me in group therapy, and I listened to people talking and realized that they were saying things that I thought. And I just had the thought of, like, wait a minute, you think like that too? I thought I was the only one that thought that way.
What was one of those thoughts?
Like, when you have racing thoughts, when you're concerned, you're worried about everything, when you have guilt that comes with depression, shame that comes with having depression, and just listening to other people describe the feelings that I had, that was the starting point. And then from there, I learned tools as the weeks went by. I was there for about 6 weeks, Monday through Friday. And I started to learn tools about, keeping myself grounded. And I learned about my illness. I learned about depression, and I learned what it was more so than I had before. I felt less alone, and I learned a lot, and it taught me that I want to help other people who are dealing with similar things that I understand, because I know that when I was in that position, it would have been great to have somebody who understood where I was at. And I've learned that helping other people makes me mentally healthy as well.
Would you be willing to share one of your songs with us?
I would love to.
Losing my connection. Losing my connection. But I'll be okay, and I'll find my way back to myself again. I know.
That was wonderful. Things that I relate to there. Mm-hmm. Losing connection to yourself, mm-hmm. losing connection to other people, but hoping that through either this song or through health, you can find your way back to finding yourself and finding that connection.
Right.
I want to try and do together an improvised version of that song.
Oh, I like this idea a lot.
I can't feel anything at all. I can't see you. I can't see anyone. What can get you there? It's just the feeling. It's got to come back, and you lose it, and you can't give up hope. You just can't give up hope. You keep battling. You keep battling. I know I'll find my place in time. I'll find my place in time. I know this isn't how the story ends.
How do you find it is making new friends right now since you started managing your illness better?
That's an amazing question, because you know what? I used to be like an extreme introvert, and I had such social anxiety because everything I did, I second guessed myself. So since in the past 2 years, I've actually become an extrovert. Like, I go out and I'm okay meeting new people, and I can connect better with people now than I could before. And I don't want to isolate anymore. I know that I need to. It's just like with music, I used to not share it with anybody, and now I'm confident enough to share it with other people. And through that, I've made so many friends over the past year. It's been pretty amazing, actually. My bandmates are the two most positive people I've ever met in my life. They're young. One's 25, one's 23. I'm 35, so they kind of give me a new energy, and they see big things for us, and which is something I couldn't have seen before. But they've helped me, we're all on the same page. Even if we're not doing music stuff, I love hanging out with them. So, it's finding people like that. I think when you're on the same page, and when you actually enjoy being around the other people in your band, I think you can do great things. It's just going to make you be able to take it to another level.
If you could sing an invite to people to jam with you.
Sing an invite.
Running in circles, chasing my tail, but you can help me. Can you help me? Will you jam with me? Will you jam with me? Will you get me out of my shell? Get me out of hell. Jam with me.
Thanks for coming in, buddy. It's been a pleasure seeing you. Thank you again to my guest, Bryan Kuhn. His band Gray Shore Avenue and their debut album Safe Harbors is available now. Check out their website at grayshoreavenue.com, Gray spelled Grey. Take care, Bryan. That wraps up this episode of Crazy Right with Dave Asher. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider writing a review or rating this podcast. And of course, we would love it if you subscribe. I'm Dave Asher, and I'm glad to be here.